taken about 25 leaves in the last 24 hours. Is that good for you? Good for your stomach? No? All right. Just wondering.
The XFL Gambling Podcast, Week 4 preview and picks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WynnBET. WynnBET's now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET is what you need to win. Sign up today. Bet $100. Get $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. We're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Yeah, you see this sweet-ass college basketball shirt? Yeah, you can get that. You can get the XFL as well. Head over to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com and use the promo code MADNESS for 10% off orders of $40 or more.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. Do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
This is the XFL Gambling Podcast. Yes, Week 4 preview and picks edition. Oh man, another week in the books coming up here. Surprised we made it to Week 4? Surprised?
The league itself?
Yeah.
Or us individually?
Both.
Because I think we're all on fumes, but now we're thriving.
We are thriving. I'm coming off a 3-1 week.
Yeah.
3-1 week. I'm feeling good about myself. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Very healthy when there's XFL football going on. Like I said, 3-1. I'm feeling. I wanted to go 4-0. I still haven't had a 4-0 week. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for, they call him the man in the box. All right. And you should check out his podcast, Bottom Line Bombs. You should subscribe over there. Give it up for CJ Sullivan. How you doing, CJ?
Beautiful, DJ Dundee. Thank you. But that was even an abridged, reserved introduction because I know we have a guest on. You had to hold things back. It usually lasts another 20 minutes.
I still got you.
It was beautiful. I love it.
I still got you.
I love it.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
$1 million smile and a fistful of pesos. That is CJ Sullivan.
Oh, man.
We are also joined by third man in the booth, host of the Old Fashioned Football Podcast, which once again, subscribe. Give it up for Justin Mark, aka JMark, aka Liquid Lunch. How you doing, JMark?
Good. I'm doing good. I got my liquid lunch right here. The chat is on fire. We got Fortune saying he already had Whiskey Wednesday. Sam I don't know how to say her last. Sam G. How about that? The Battle Dome is going to be lit Sunday.
I believe that. And we also have
Whiskey Lunch is lit.
have our first guest for the XFL Gambling Podcast. I'm excited to bring this guy on Thursdays. You've been able to see, if you've been watching the Greg Peterson show, me and him have been picking XFL winners, I feel like, for the past few weeks. Give it up for, first off, betting analyst Yahoo Sportsbook. So you want to give this guy a follow on Twitter. Give it up for Mark Drumheller. How you doing, Mark?
Great to be here, guys. Listen, week 4 already. Season's starting to fly by, but we started to see some offense last week, so that's exciting. Hopefully it's a precursor of more to come.
For sure. We finally got some offense going. The Sea Dragons, who I know we both have futures on, Mark. I know CJ as well. Finally, got the win. Ironically, probably the game they should have lost in a way, right? But they end up winning that one. How do you feel about that future on the Sea Dragons, man?
It's good. It's going to be interesting in the sense that, like, I don't think the turnovers that have plagued them, -7 on turnover margin on the year, like, I think that's just part of their DNA. I don't think that's going to change as the season progresses. Ben DiNucci is just going to be Ben DiNucci, right? And we're going to have to live with it. But where I think the future is live is they may just be good enough offensively as the year progresses to where it doesn't matter, to where they just, outscore everybody, put enough points on the board, enough scoreboard pressure to really, put some of these other teams in a bind. So I like them. I like them still, even with the turnovers. I took Vegas last week, pushed. I had the 4, so wasn't really happy about that 4th and 2 65-yard touchdown. But they just look like they're so far ahead of everybody else offensively, over 500 yards last week. So it's a good ticket to have in your pocket. Lots of good numbers out there. I know people that got plus 900 or more on Seattle. I think it's definitely live.
Yeah, CJ, you went last week and loaded up.
Last week I loaded them up at plus 800. I still saw them today around plus 750, 700 at shops, which I think with their ceiling, I think it's still worth getting down on.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, look, JMark, you got a future on the Battlehawks. I know we're gonna get to picking these games. They've been like the Stones in '69. They've been jumping around from city to city to city. They're finally gonna play a home game. How do you feel about your future on the Battlehawks?
I'm feeling good about it. I think they've looked pretty solid. I still think they have a lot of pieces to kind of put together, but they're winning games minus last week. What we said on the pod last week, I thought they were going to lose. You guys thought they were going to lose. Now they get to come home. That Battle Dome is going to be rocking. It's going to be loud, and yeah, I'm feeling good about the future. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I hear fan turnout's going to be insane there. They've opened at the top deck or something. I think I read something to
top deck open in St. Louis.
Top deck,
double deckers.
All right, well let's hop into it because we just have a loaded slate here.
Yeah.
The first game, once again, 2 on Saturday. We're back to that's the thing, is they've kind of stayed inconsistent with moving these games around as far as schedule. Last week, just 1 Saturday game. This week, 2 Saturday games as the Houston Roughnecks head into Orlando to take on, oh boy, this is the second matchup. We're seeing the second matchup.
There's 2 this week, right? 2 revenge games already playing. That seems early.
I mean, I had Orlando on the money line last week, and I really thought I was going to hit on that thing. I would say by like early 4th quarter, I was like, oh, this is going to hit. I'm going to look like a genius. No, still look like a moron. Houston at Orlando. This is one. Do we have any idea before I even rattle off the line? Do we have any idea on, is Paxton Lynch for sure starting this game? JMark?
I think that's their plan from everything I've heard. Of course, they brought in Quentin Flowers, but we know how it is with guys trying to pick up playbooks. Look at Brett Hundley. So,
well, maybe Dormady could sell them their playbook.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so this line, I still can't believe what's Paxton Lynch done right. Was he related to Terrell Buckley? He's getting 8.5 points. The Guardians are 8.5 points. The over under set at 37.5, plus 300. If anyone wants to try the money line again against perhaps the best team. Mark, you're our guest. Lead us off. What are you doing here, and what are you doing totals wise?
Yeah, I laid it with the Roughnecks. I got it 8.5. I actually saw some 7.5s out there, but I couldn't get them on my app here in New Jersey when it initially opened. So I ended up with the 8.5. I think it's fine here. You look at Houston, the defense is getting better and better each week. They outgained San Antonio 374 to 162 last week, only let up 3.4 yards per play. So Wade Phillips' defense leads the whole league in sacks. They're going to get better as the season goes on defensively. And I just don't see how Orlando keeps up in this game. Houston's won by at least 9 points in all 3 games. Orlando, they bring in, Quentin Flowers. I mean, this is a guy who, requested a trade after getting benched in 2020 by the Tampa Bay Vipers, right? So, his history in the XFL, he's not your savior. If things don't go right, he's just going to demand a trade, which nobody traded for him because, he's Quentin Flowers. But, here comes the guy to, save Terrell Buckley's Guardians. I don't think so. I think there's going to be some spots to bet the Guardians as an underdog just because the market's so low on them. Like last week was one. Obviously, getting 8.5 points against Bob Stoops' offense is like free money. But I don't think it's this week. I think the Roughnecks run away with it. Total wise, kind of tough, man. I got burned on the under last week with Vegas and Seattle, and they put up like 56 points. I said, you know what? I'm going to take a little break from the totals.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I had to go to, I'm probably not going to touch the total here. I would go over just because the first matchup, but I gotta think Orlando's offense has got to be improving. Maybe I don't know. I mean,
a bit. Their defense
it's another week. It's another week.
I know.
That's my philosophy.
That's hilarious too. I want to get there with Orlando too, like getting like this many points in a second like revenge game, but I just can't do it. And you're like, yeah, and that's literally like the only defense. Like, well, it's another week of football. I imagine they are putting something together. I mean, granted, their defense did look better, but like you said, it was against the Stoops kind of offense. So their defense held a minute, but versus Houston, I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it's too much of a mismatch.
The Houston D line has looked great so far.
Ferocious.
And going back to last week, the Orlando, Paxton Lynch led the team in rushing. That is a concern. Just 3.2 yards of rush for Orlando. I got to take Houston. Look, I as a guy that took Orlando, and I said, hey, they're not as bad as we think they are.
And when they played week one, weren't the stats were kind of even. The game.
Well, I think they got up so much though that the defense relaxed a little bit. They were able to fling the rock a little bit. Quentin Dormady played, before he started selling the books,
selling playbooks. Yeah.
So do you have a feel on the over under, CJ?
I would lean under actually, just because of I don't think Orlando is going to do can do anything against Houston's defense at all, and their offense. Their offense is just a disaster, and it's a question mark. At least the bad offenses, what's going to happen. Orlando, you have no idea who's going to be out there from series to series. Their offensive linemen are trying to change the plays in the huddle.
I think the key too here, guys, is that with it being a revenge spot, that favors Wade Phillips the most. Like he's seen, like we have Wade Phillips, probably the most accomplished coach in this league, has already seen this Orlando offense once. So what do we think Orlando is going to cook up here the second time around?
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a bulletin board soundbite material? Remember week one when he says, if I were them, I'd run the ball when they were down 19 because they kept throwing picks.
JMark, what are you doing here in this battle in Orlando? And what are you doing totals and for the game?
Yeah, this line doesn't make sense to me. Why is this about the same number we're getting against Arlington? Because Houston is the better team. They're the best in the league, I think. Colby, I know you disagree. You got them in bottom 3, you said last week, but
I was hoping. No, I had them better than Arlington. Look, and I was dumb enough to take an Arlington future too, and they're somehow 2-1. But you look at the yardage last week. They should have beat Arlington. That's all I'm saying.
The yardage power rankings.
The yardage only power rankings.
Normally that tells a tale, man. That tells a tale for the most part. Find me the NFL team last in yardage that's in the playoffs. All right.
Fair.
Just saying.
All right.
So what are you doing, JMark?
Yeah, so I think this should be 10.5, 11 even. So yeah, I'm riding with Houston, but I do like the under. We saw when Houston got up last week, they started getting a little conservative in the second half, didn't end up scoring any points in that second half. I could see them getting up, Orlando not being able to really put any points on the board, and Houston getting conservative. So I lean the under on this one.
All right. Well, we're going to get to the second game on Saturday, but before we get there, I want to tell you that the XFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by WinBet. Yes. Look, I mean, right now WinBet is active in a bunch of states, and there are tons of ways to win, including live betting, same game parlays, aka WinBet's build your own bet, and March Madness is here, folks. That means there's tons of college basketball action you can get down on, plus NBA, NHL, and like we're talking XFL action. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, get $100 free bet, limited to state availability. And of course, for our DGens only, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offer subject to James, terms and conditions. WinBet.com must be 21 or older. Present state. WinBet is available. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. I'm working. These are auditions. These are auditions for the Micro Machines because they're coming back at some point, right?
Right.
They're coming back at some point. All right. I mean, enough of me trying to sell the Guardians and Terrell Buckley for some value in the future. The Brahmas are taking on the Sea Dragons. I actually think you can make an argument this is the most interesting game this week. This is Saturday night, 7:00 Eastern, 4:00 Pacific. Sea Dragons are laying 4.5.
Yep.
Over unders at 40.5. The Brahmas are plus 180 on the money line. If you just want to take Seattle to win the game, minus 210. Mark, I know we just talked Sea Dragon future. What are you doing here in this game? Are you riding with your team?
I'm actually not. I'm waiting out. I want to see how many points I can get with the Brahmas. 5 have started to pop, so I'm hoping as we get closer to kickoffs, maybe I can even get a 6 here, which would be massive. But I just think that Seattle, as talented as they are, right, has not shown the ability to cover these numbers. 0-2-1 against the spread so far. If you got it a 4 last week, obviously that was a push. So they need to prove to me that they can cover these numbers. Obviously, because of how well they perform from a yardage perspective, they're going to be power rated high. They're going to be laying points every week, but they got to start covering these numbers for me to back them. In this game with the Brahmas, I think their defensive line is going to cause DiNucci some problems, force them into some bad interceptions. And what do we know about the Brahmas on offense, right? Very conservative offense, short passes to those tall wide receivers. They want to run the ball with Balaj and Patrick. That's going to eat up clock, shorten possessions, make the game smaller. In that type of situation, the points are more valuable. So I don't know if I would go Brahmas money line. Like if people want to play Seattle, minus the 210 on the money line, I could live with that. But I'm going to wait here and see how many points I can get with the Brahmas and probably back San Antonio.
I'll say this: the Seattle run defense, I still think there's some question marks there. They might, and go back to week 1, San Antonio had success running the ball. I'm a little concerned about the status of Jack Cohn. Last week, 8 of 20, 64 yards, 3.2 yards a pass, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That makes me also. What are you doing over underwise? You think maybe you go over just because it's June Jones in this Sea Dragons offense, or do you think Jack Cohn is a liability and maybe we go under?
Yeah, I would probably lean under just because I think if I'm Hines Ward, I'm going into this game, right? And I think Hines Ward's very conservative coach to begin with. If you can look at just the point after conversions on touchdowns, San Antonio converts the second highest amount of time on those conversions, but they're tied for 6th in the actual points that they get from those conversions because he's always going for 1. So I think Hines Ward, very conservative. He wants to win like the old Steelers. So I think he's going to try and keep this low scoring, keep the ball out of Seattle's hands, try and play keep away. So I would probably lean to the under if I had to play the total.
And I'm curious, before I get your take, CJ, on this, is there a strategy you use? With college football or NFL, I feel like the 3, the 7, so huge. Have you is 4.5 points? Or are you just sitting there saying, is that a key number perhaps for you, or what? Is there a philosophy you use when handicapping?
Not really, not yet. I haven't really seen. I think the 2 is probably more valuable than it is in the NFL, just because of how close these games are. The margin of victory is so small. But for me, personally, I've just been really reluctant to lay points. I have to be really comfortable. We'll kind of talk about that in these upcoming games. But, when you're laying 4 or 5 points, that's much more than in an NFL game because these games are typically much closer margins of victory.
Yeah. Originally, I looked a couple days ago and they were calling for rain, but it seems like it's going to clear up. But high of 50 degrees in Seattle for Saturday night. I'm actually, I say this every time.
Yeah.
I'm refusing to fade Seattle. I'm going back down. All right. Maybe it's that I saw way too much of Jack Cohn play college football.
Yeah.
And I'm not sold on him at any pro level at being a quarterback. I am scared. DiNucci does seem to give the ball away often, but I'm going to go back to the well on Seattle. And I I lean over as long as there's no rain. If there's rain there's a chance because there's rain all day Friday, rain all day Sunday. So maybe they're a little off and we do see rain. Keep an eye on that. CJ, what are you doing here?
Well, if you're guessing rain in Seattle, I'll go ahead and say yes, there's going to be rain. But I agree with Mark there. I think this is too many points for Seattle. Seattle's a team that we want to be covered. Just because they're offense and June Jones, we want them to cover, and they're just not doing it. And we eventually have to look in the face like, okay, this is their reality. They're sloppy with the ball, whatever. They pulled out that win somehow, but like 4.5 is way too many. It'll be a lit atmosphere, but I think that helps both teams. I think San Antonio is going to. I mean, I think anytime there's a great atmosphere in this league, that both teams are going to be excited for, just because they won't have that kind of a crowd normally to play. And as far as Jack Cohn, I get it, but he had 2 good games, and last week was his bad one. Plus, he was going probably the best defense he's ever went up against also last week.
True, fair point. Fair.
So,
that is fair. The run game, though, I think for DFS, I know we're going to do a DFS roster or lineup later. I think the run game could be a good play for San Antonio here. But anyway, continue on, man.
Absolutely. So I think want to, and like you said, they have great rushing attack with Patrick. Although that goal line offense last week versus Houston, how they. That play calling where they just couldn't punch it in cover like gentlemen. So I would go 4-0. So I won't hold that against them. I'm going to take San Antonio plus 4.5, and 40.5 is a high number. And I think that's definitely a reflection of what we just saw last week with, with the way Seattle went off in a Vegas game.
Nooch
with the Nooch, and he threw some Nooch bombs. And
Josh Gordon's emerging. I mean, do they have anyone that can guard him?
Beyond emerging, right? No, absolutely not. But, at the same time, Nooch throws the ball plenty around. Everybody eats with Nooch. Offense, defense. He's a true Italian Democratic quarterback. Yeah, everybody eats at a Nooch offense.
JMark, what are you doing here? Are you on my side, or you riding with CJ and Mark? What are you doing, man?
I am on your side. I can't fade Seattle yet.
Right.
I think this has been the best looking offense all year. Last week, they really started clicking even more so. They stepped it up another notch. They even had the run game going. Morgan Ellison going over 100 yards. Yes, it scares me a little bit that Jack Cohn did look good those first 2 weeks. I mean, he was close to 70% passing. I know it was checkdowns, but still, he was moving the ball pretty efficiently until he played Houston and threw it in the dirt over and over because he didn't want to get hit. But and I don't think Seattle can put that kind of pressure on Jack Cohn like Houston did either. But I just think this June Jones offense, it's just starting to get going. It's starting to really click. We're going to continue to see it get better and better. And it's already the best in the league. I think it was since week 1. I think they have more to tap into there. So especially if they get that run game over 100 yards again. So yeah, I'm riding with Seattle, and I'm taking the over.
Sorry, JMark, what is Morgan Ellison's health status?
He's questionable. I saw, right?
I heard he was pretty banged up at the end of that game, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to be good to go. They did sign another running back, but I think he'll be good to go.
Well, they had to, because Knox done for the year, right?
Yep, he's on the reserve.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how fast they can pick up that offense. I guess the benefit is the run and shoot. Just don't hand the ball off, right?
Right.
June Jones, no problem with that. He's like, we don't need the running back.
Absolutely.
All right, before we get into Sunday's action, I'm going to tell you that the XFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog is your home for off-season NFL best ball drafts. They also got you covered for a ton of other daily games, including PGA, NHL, NBA. Yes, Underdog Fantasy is a great way to get down on your favorite player props if they're not available in your state, which I know a lot of states out there, you just don't have that availability. So there's always a way around it. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, we are back. XFL action is rolling. Sunday, the Arlington Renegades, who I was dumb enough to buy a future on, even though they're 2-1, I'm convinced they're the worst team in the league. All right. I'm convinced that offensive line is the worst offensive line. How about that? If you don't want to join me on the worst team in the league, I believe that is the worst offensive line in the league. They're getting 4 in the Hornets' nest. Yes, I'm talking about St. Louis, the murder capital of America, but also a team deprived of football for a long time. As obviously, the St. Louis Rams now in Los Angeles. I think this place is going to be absolutely packed. Mark, St. Louis is laying 4. The over-under's at 36.5. Arlington's plus 150 on the money line. If perhaps you want to talk yourself into that one, what are you doing here at what are they calling this? The Dome? Isn't that it? The Dome in St. Louis, Mark.
Yeah, so Operation Fade Bob Stoops continues here.
Yes.
I had to drop on this team since the beginning of the year. They're the worst team in the league. Minus 1.2 in net yard per play, worst in the entire XFL. And it's the offense is just atrocious. Like, they have nothing there. Slaughter is not going to make a difference. You know, he threw, more interceptions and touchdowns in the USFL. So I don't know, what they think they're going to get out of there. But can't run the ball. Stoops still will run the ball into a brick wall 30 times a game. He doesn't care. He dials up the run. It's going to win the old way. But, somehow they're winning games. So we're still getting value here. But in this spot against St. Louis, coming off that loss, I like St. Louis here. But, we talked about the point spread and these numbers before. I couldn't get to lay the 4 points. I really don't like laying points like that here. As bad as Arlington is. I played them on the money line at minus 175. I think that's the best way to approach it. With that crowd in that environment, with St. Louis coming off the loss against this Arlington team, Arlington's defense is pretty tough. So we could get, kind of close game. Yeah. And we know how the Battlehawks like to win, right? Heart attack Hawks, last minute, win by 2, win by 3. That's their MO. So I couldn't get to laying the 4. So I just played St. Louis on the money line, minus 175. I can't see a way where the Renegades win this game. So I was comfortable laying that big number. But I think that's the best way to attack it here. St. Louis gets the job done finally at home.
Yes, St. Louis, says Mark Drumheller. Make sure you give Mark a follow. Once again, he's a betting analyst, Yahoo Sportsbook. You can give him a follow at X_Drumheller. Are we at all concerned? Jonathan Hayes was the former head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks at XFL 2.0. He's the OC, the struggling OC of the Renegades, coming back home, reuniting. I'm just making up storylines. I don't think there's anything there.
Well,
what's that?
St. Louis's biggest issue is the offensive line. So and that's where Arlington has the advantage here. Like, their defense is going to be all over McCarron. That's why I didn't want to lay the points. I'm like, let me just play this thing on the money line because Arlington's defense, they get after you. They make plays. They're the strength of the team. The offense is trash. The defense is solid. They create turnovers every week. So that's why I just couldn't get the lay in the number. But I do think, Arlington's going to have some success on defense here. Probably an under game, but I think St. Louis ultimately, comes away with the win.
Yeah. And Mark, the one place on Thursday nights on the Greg Peterson show, when me and you have been on, I've said the one place where I actually think, a home field advantage might dictate a point or two is Washington D.C. at Audi Field, but we haven't seen a home game in St. Louis here. Do you think that could be something that we could adjust spreads because they might have a real home environment? You think?
Yeah, I definitely think so. So there are three teams that I targeted before the season that I think are going to have significant home field advantages. Like, I think San Antonio with the Alamo Dome, like, that place was rocking too. If you remember back in week 1, yeah. They should have won that game against St. Louis, but they had that collapse that got all over Sports Center. But yeah, I think it's here. I think this might be the strongest in St. Louis. We're going to see what it looks like. And then you, of course, have DC. DC, probably the funnest crowd, right? If you're going to go to a game, you want to go to DC.
Oh, yeah.
Here, take the lemons, the whole 9. But, but I do think San Antonio probably will have one as well, and the middle of the pack, like, you got Houston and then you got like Seattle on a talent level if they can ever figure out the turnovers. But then that middle of the pack before you get to like Arlington and Orlando and the dregs of the league is really kind of tight. So like, I do think like home field advantage does matter in those matchups.
For sure. Look, I have a future on Arlington, so I'm gonna. This is what I call somewhat hedging. I am gonna lay the points with St. Louis, laying the 4.
You're gonna do 9 consecutive weeks of hedging.
Oh man, hope you're subscribed to the XFL Gambling Podcast with my 9-week hedge plan. I'm laying the 4 with St. Louis. I just feel like the momentum of this stadium, the crowd, and the fact that I don't know what The Rock had against them playing a home game in St. Louis. Was it the Blues? Was it the hockey team? Yeah. I don't even understand. But why we're in week 4. They're the only team playing their first home game.
It's wild to start off with 3 straight road games like that.
And knowing ahead of time that this is the one crowd that, from XFL 2.0. That was really one of the better crowds. I would have tried to play into it early in the season, but hey, that's why I'm just hosting a podcast. I am going to lay the points though with St. Louis. I call me crazy here. I think the under is the play in this one. I think the under's the play. CJ, what are you doing here in this matchup with the total and for the game?
Well, for the game, I understand what Mark's saying about it's being weary of laying the points, but I don't mind laying the 4 with this one in particular, just because of Arlington. I think is the biggest disappointment we've had, at least of the teams.
Oh yeah,
even though they are 2-1, they're luck boxed their way into those 2 victories.
Do you think Sloter's regretting the move from the USFL to the XFL?
Well, and I'll give Sloter even a pass for last week because that was his first game, and he'll probably will improve a little bit. But I think this is just going to be a buzzsaw down in St. Louis. Like I said, they haven't had a home game yet, and they're going to have the number 1 home field advantage. And AJ McCarron's kids are going to be able to watch them beat Arlington. I mean, what a dream they had. They wouldn't want his dad making 10 times the money to hold a clipboard and they go on a vacation. They would much rather see this beautiful matchup on Sunday afternoon. But I mean, as much as we like to hate on St. Louis too for being a little luck box, I think they do look efficient, even with Coach Tony Meatball there from Delran, New Jersey. I have no problem playing St. Louis, and the total I don't have a strong opinion on, but I would definitely lean under.
JMark, what are you doing here at the Dome?
First of all, shout out to Sam G. He's got the supplies to make 300 Jello shots. Going to do their part at the tailgate.
Yes,
going to be insane. The bars have been packed in St. Louis for watch parties for the first 3 road games.
Are we going to have a Jello snake?
A Jello snake. There you go.
Yeah,
but they're in little cups, so it wouldn't go very far.
A Jello mold shot creature, though, could be something.
Out
yeah.
here.
Can we make a Battlehawk out of it?
DC's got the lemons and the snake. I feel like St. Louis, we got to create something in St. Louis.
A Jello Battlehawk.
These fans have been deprived. I'm with them. I love the energy. It's going to be like a college football environment, I feel like. JMark, though, continue on, my friend.
So I know you hate domes, but they hold that sound in. 30,000. When's the last time Sloter played in front of a hostile crowd of 30,000 people, especially in a dome?
That wasn't even in college because he went to Northern Colorado. That was probably in high school. Yeah.
And I think that's truly going to affect the game. I think this is the one place that's going to have a huge home field advantage. I think it's going to rattle Arlington. It's going to rattle their offense, the cue for the plays. He's going to be trying to listen to his offensive coordinator while, the analysts are telling us what the play is and all that stuff that we don't want to listen to. But you guys know I'm big on the Battlehawks. I think they're one of the better teams, and so I think they cover I think they rout this team. I think this is a show up for the crowd, show up for those home fans that have been deprived of football, and just blow Arlington out and rout them. I like the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points by St. Louis, just a little bit on the other side of the ball here, and give me St. Louis to win this by a lot.
There we go. There we go.
All right.
Go with the sticking to his future.
10 Jello shot pick on that one.
That's right.
I like it.
All right, the nightcap. Now, I'm curious. Actually, I guess before we go into the, let's talk this one first. Vegas goes into Aldi Field in Washington D.C. The lemon party they call this one, as D.C. is laying 6. The over-under's at 41. I am seeing Vegas at plus 200 with Brett Hundley. Seems like he's solidified his spot as the starting QB. Mark, what are you doing here in DC?
Yeah, I'm taking the dog. I'm taking the 6 points. I haven't bet it yet. I'm going to wait. Hey, maybe I can get 7, right? They can bet this up as high as they want. I just don't think, in this spot, you look at DC, and not that they're not a good team, but I think they're a little bit of a vulnerable favorite. Like laying 6 points in this league is just insane, especially for a team that relies, primarily on the running game, right? To score points. The running game and their defense. That's how they score. Now, Tiamu surprised me, had a couple explosive plays in critical situations last week. I'm betting he can't do it again. I like the Vegas offense, with Hundley, averaged 5.8 yards per play last week, the 3rd highest mark of any offense this season. Seattle has the top 2 marks. So, better offensive performance than we've seen at any team not named Seattle. So now that Huntley, another week under his belt, another week comfortable, you have a solid offense playing a DC team that has a strong defense. They're going to create turnovers. They're going to make plays. But I just think the 6 points is way too valuable with, an emerging offense with Vegas. So, I'm going to grab it. If I get more than 6, fine. But if I get 6, I'll just play it that way.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think, look, and we have DC futures. I'm I grew up in the DC area, so I am all about the experience there after what has happened in the NFL with the pro team. But I don't know that. First off, I thought that you'd see more of De'Aaron King last week. I was shocked we didn't see more of De'Aaron King, which I get it. Talmo had a very good day, and I know JMark was cringing at the thought of that. But I really was a bit perplexed by that, but I just don't feel comfortable. I think the passing attack has been a little questionable.
Yeah.
So I don't feel comfortable laying the points there. I think I have to take DC. I think I have to take Vegas, but I think DC probably will win on the money line. I just don't feel like I can lay that many points. So give me that. And I actually go under as well. I think Greg Williams can make Brett Hundley make a few mistakes. And then just the fact that DC passing game hasn't been great, I lean towards the under there at Aldi. What are you doing here, CJ?
Yeah, I was surprised by both numbers, 6 and 42 there or whatever. That just seemed big reaction from last week, I think, because they put up the most points, I believe. But that's not DC's MO, like you guys were saying.
Yeah.
They're defense and they're a running game. So I like, and it's their second revenge game as well. Although that we all remember what happened a couple weeks ago at the Double Dare Park that was going on out there in Vegas when it was raining, spray painted fields, and
that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of these spring leagues, in my opinion.
And the announcers up in that Notre Dame film intern booth, whatever, with the wind blowing them back and forth. I mean. Hundley's getting better each week too. I think he's getting grasp. He looks a little more competent. So I'll gladly take 6. And I agree with Mark. I think this line's going to keep going up too. It's already heavily kind of juiced to -6. So if you can get 6.5, 7, but like he said too, I'll take anything at +6 and the under 42 and feel very comfortable with.
Yeah, they're actually calling for rain in DC.
Yeah,
so
why not? It should always rain when these two teams. I love it.
They need a water tower close to it, so you can throw the broadcast team up in the water tower.
Hard to grip those lemons though when it rains and launch into the field.
That's true. It's a fair point. That's why they cover the 6. That's your analysis.
A little bit.
Hard to grip the lemons.
Hey DC, how about not give a full size lemon with each vodka cocktail? Maybe give slices. Slices don't hurt as much when you whip them. They're harder to throw.
When the league folds and you look back at your lemon cost, it might be concerning over there.
Yeah, I like the Rock breaking down the numbers. Well, I see a problem here. DC,
we got to move the tequila. We got to move the tequila.
Yeah. We spent 40 grand on lemons.
I mean, I don't want to be the joy kill here, but can we get a cheaper garnish?
And now I got to make Jumanji 12. You know what I mean? Giambi. I almost said Jason Giambi.
Who probably will be in Jumanji 12 if they ever get to that. Starting the Giambi brothers.
Oh man, JMark, what are you doing here in DC?
Yeah, you guys know that this game's hard for me to pick because I don't like either of these quarterbacks. I don't like Tamu. I don't like Hundley. I don't like Luis Perez. I do like De'Aaron King, so I hope to see him more. But
JMark's just like, I don't like any minority quarterback. Right? He's like,
that's not it at all.
He's like, give me a guy like Slaughter. All right, I like Slaughter.
Can they trade for Drew Plitt? Maybe. Can we get a?
I'm busting your balls, buddy. All right.
Now we all know it's a Byron Scott thing. We get it.
Byron Scott.
Byron Scott. The 3-point special is Byron Scott.
Well, okay, continue on, J-Mac. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. However, I think Hundley showed that he can lead this team. He can put some points up. I think Tamu does. We saw in the USFL, he's a back and forth quarterback. He has some really good games, then he has some really bad games. He turns the ball over too much with fumbles and interceptions. I'm not a Tamu believer because of that. And so, yeah, this is too many points. I'm riding with Vegas in the +6 here. I think this is a 3-point game either way. regardless of who wins the game. I think it's a 3-point game. So yeah, I'm taking Vegas and I'm taking the under. I think it's going to be slower than people think.
Let me ask you this: if it's a downpour, who does that favor more? Obviously, DC's got the good ground attack. Mark, what do you think? If it is downpouring here, what do you think about that?
It favors DC because you need Hundley to whip it around. They can't run the ball for anything. I mean, Hundley got 66 yards on the ground last week, but they can't run the ball. Like, they can't line up and run it at you. You know, right. So they need to be able to throw the ball down the field to Bedette and those guys, Martavius Bryant. So if it's another rain game, we might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
We might be like live bet out of this one.
Right.
But hopefully the forecast holds up. And it's not. And listen, it's like rain is fine. But like what they experienced week 2 in Vegas, it was like the middle of a tornado. There's like, wind and, the towers are blowing over and, nobody could do anything. It's just line up and get creamed. So, we're going to hope for a little bit better weather. But I do think Vegas is the side with the points.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to ask you this before we get you out of here, Mark. We're going to ask all of us right now.
Right.
What is the game you want to see most? Like if whoever said you only get one game to watch this weekend, what's the one, Mark, that you're excited for the most?
That's a good one. I mean, it would have to be St. Louis just because I want to see the crowd. Like, I want to see the dome. That's really what it is. I think the most intriguing stylistic matchup it's going to tell us the most about both teams is Houston and San Antonio, right? I got you. San Antonio and Seattle. Yeah. Yes, San Antonio and Seattle. And how does Danucci, hold up against that pass rush? And will they be able to keep the game competitive? Because, like I said, Cone was miserable last week, 60 yards passing or something like that. So, can he bounce back? And, what does that offense do with Jaime Elizondo, who was really good with Tampa in 2020? So, I expect more out of San Antonio's offense as the season goes on. But if I had to watch one game, it would be St. Louis just because I got to see that crowd. I mean, I'm over here in Philly. I'm thinking about flying out to St. Louis just for the tailgate.
Look out.
Yeah.
I don't even have to go to the game. I just might go for those Jello shots.
There you go. Give him a follow. Look, I know some of the people in the chat. Make sure you give Mark a follow. CJ, what's the game you want to see most?
Not to coattail everything, but I want to see this crowd in St. Louis, especially they're opening up the top deck, the double decker, the dome. It's just a weird scheduling how they've been holding off maybe the number one crowd support for a month and edging them, if you will.
Don't understand that strategy, but maybe it works out to their favor. JMark, what's the game you want to see most?
Yeah, it's the Battlehawks. I want to see this crowd. I want to see them get loud, and this is going to be the biggest crowd we've seen so far in the XFL. So I want to see how the players react and respond to that.
I guess I'm in the minority saying I want to see my Guardians. They got Quentin Flowers.
Yeah.
Quentin. Anyone that says I demand a trade,
all right, when
they have no value, I respect. All right. They double down on himself. I demand a trade. All right. To where? The Walmart to work there. Anyway. Shout out to actually the game I really want to see is probably the Seattle game Saturday night. Yeah. All right. Saturday night. I'm very excited to watch that game. All right, Mark. Well, we appreciate you. Everyone, make sure you give Mark a follow. Once again, you see it if you're watching on YouTube. By the way, XFL Gambling Podcast live from YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. But yeah, give him a follow at X_Drumheller. Mark, appreciate you, and please come back and pick games with us again.
Absolutely. Let's do it again, boys. Best of luck this weekend.
All right.
There we go. Thank you. Take care.
Have a safe flight to St. Louis for those Jello shots.
Yeah, those Jello shots. Loading up on those, man. Let us know if you make it out there. All right. That was fun. Yeah. That was fun, man. He's knowledgeable.
He's got around.
Yeah, he's
a little too much information, if you ask me. But that's all right. That's fine. That's fine. I get it. That's how you make your living.
It's like you'd rather be in the dark with Dundee saying, "Hey, Terrell Buckner's got something going."
The dark with Dundee.
Guys, we have to talk DFS here. All right, it's the DFS segment on the show, which means I guess I'll give us some type of music here to get us excited about the DFS side of things. Because I believe CJ, and maybe even JMark, hit for cash last week. Oh, there we go.
Ship it.
Yes, this is the DFS music that I just came up with. Shout out to us for covering DFS. And remember, each and every week we will be giving you a DFS lineup.
I'll say, yeah.
Anything jump out to you guys before we dive into our lineups? Because I feel like I have the perfect lineup for this week to win all the money. JMark?
What jumped out to me is that the DFS books finally adjusted their prices. It was a little trickier to build the lineup this time.
Yeah.
You couldn't just slot in the guys that are continually putting up the biggest games, because they did start to adjust the prices a little bit. This is the first time I've seen kind of a bigger adjustment. So it was interesting. They finally, like week 4, they're like, oh shit, we're making this too easy. Something like that, because they did make an adjustment. So it was a little trickier to me, but yeah, I like my my lineup as well. Shout out to our listener on Twitter. Kitch said, weekly listener to XFL SGPN podcast. Your DFS picks have been fantastic every week. So if it's your first time listening, we got people that have been listening every week and liking the lineup. So
nice.
Get your pencils out and write them down.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, but we would appreciate it even more if you can hop on over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review at XFL Gambling Podcast. I know we got some recently. All right.
Did.
Rob, who said this is the best XFL gambling related podcast out there.
I agree.
Yeah. CJ, how do you feel about that?
I refuse to listen to other ones for personal reasons anyway. But no, I like it. And if you did follow me, not to shout, I am new to this DFS world. I put DraftKings on notice with my shipping last week. I came in 12th place, or tied for 10th, which was money out of 600. Now people are challenging me to one-on-one contests. I set the thing a buzz. People are aware of CJ bombs out there on daily as I brought in $75 from my $12.
$75. You fill out the tax information
from my $12 contest. I probably should have said that publicly, huh?
All right. Well, look, I've won money 2 out of 3 times, but I got to be honest, I'm a bit envious of your $75 because I walk away with like 15 to 20 or something like that. 2 out of 3 weeks. 1 week I gave you a 0. That was I believe that was week 2. I'm not switching. You don't change horses midstream.
You dance with the date you brought.
Danucci is my quarterback at plus he's what, 10,800. He's Danucci is expensive.
Yeah.
What did Dion say? I'm bringing the Louis. I'm bringing the Danucci. All right. Give me Ben DiNucci. Is anyone else following in the footsteps of the #1 offense in the league?
I know. I'm sure JMark is my only way to go not to pick the Nucci is because I believe everyone will have the Nucci.
I thought about going Huntley, but the rain scared me off.
That's funny you say that. That's who I went with. I went with Huntley. 10K.
Yeah.
He's an even 10K, which is actually a little expensive for him, but he's starting to look good. And I like the revenge angle coming in and the rain and Mark just let us know. The rain's not gonna be the worst case scenario. As long as it's not that Vegas tornado storm, whatever the hell is going on there, it should be okay. And they don't run. And what I like about Vegas, they just don't run the ball. They just refuse to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if Huntley, if there is gonna be running, it's gonna be Huntley. So I like his all around game there. And I think he's worth a shot just in case Danucci throws a Danucci bomb up there on that Thursday.
JMark, who are you going with at QB?
Yeah, so I will. I'll preface this with I'm definitely going to have some Nooch Pearson stacks.
Okay.
Because I do multiple lineups, but this is the one that I thought was the most well balanced, and it starts with AJ McCarron. I think they're going to really light it up. You know, I've been outspoken about the fact that I think this is going to be a lot of points. So yeah, I'm picking McCarron 10,700, second most expensive quarterback behind the Nooch.
Wow.
But yeah, save me a couple $100 there.
JMark's like, I made money last week, turned in 75 lineups, but I made $12. All right.
No. I made an $8 profit off of all my lineups.
All right. It's like when Jimmy the Greek would bet on every horse just to get himself winning. Like, I got the winner, and he'd slap his tickets down, even though he'd lose money on it. But he wanted to feel that winning feeling. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. JMark.
Yeah, you got to do it. No one doing Brandon Silvers, even though the Houston offense had success against Orlando.
He's my guy every week. He looks like the most competent quarterback as well, and he is a great pick there. And I wouldn't, but they do kind of shut it down too, like what JMark was saying before. Like, you know, what I mean, they were up big in a halftime, then they kind of get conservative with it. It's still, I don't know.
I don't know. Just throwing that out there. The undefeated Roughnecks quarterback, undrafted in this week's DFS. Running back wise. Well, I'm going back to the well. Brian Hill. All right. I think there's opportunity. I think this game's I'm with you, JMark. I think this is gonna be give me like a 27 to 12 final score. I think St. Louis is gonna lay it on them, and I think the ground attack is gonna be all the difference in the world. Brian Hill at $6,600. What do you think of that play? Who'd you go with? I
like Brian Hill. I think Abram Smith is a lock play at running back this week, just because he's 8,400, but Vegas, they can't stop the run. Morgan Ellison went off on them last week, and DC, that's exactly what they do, is run the ball. Abram Smith, he's number one pick. He looks like an RB1 out there, like he just looks like the guy, the bell cow. So I think, and especially if it does rain, does have bad weather, kind of to back up my Hundley pick, I think it's going to be a steady diet of Abram Smith.
I like it. He was on my roster a week ago. JMark, what are you doing here at the running back spot?
Yeah, I got Brian Hill as well. I know that's a little counterintuitive with having AJ McCarron as my quarterback, but he receives the ball. He receives the ball out of the backfield as well. So yeah, I think they're going to get up big. McCarron's going to throw 3 touchdowns. Then they're going to run the ball down their throat. That's how I think the game's going to go. So I'm throwing a bunch of St. Louis guys in this lineup, but I feel good about it.
There we go.
It could be
live and die with the Battlehawks.
I know. I was just gonna say
it should be at that Cardinal Stadium. Was that Bush Stadium? They should be playing that game there.
It could be. It could be a devastating. I'm just saying. Sunday at the JMark household. The whiskey lunch might start early if somehow if St. Louis doesn't pull this off early Sunday afternoon.
Or it could start out, if his wife finds out he's got $5,000 going in DFS plays in the XFL. You did what?
On how many Battlehawks? Why did you stack so many Battlehawks?
To cause the law. How could I not? Come on.
Oh man. Wide receiver for me. I did stack it up, man.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm only going to release one right now because that's what I do. We go one at a time here on the XFL Gambling Podcast.
Highest paid receiver.
No. Ja'Cour Pearson is my guy. I want the slot guy. I know Gordon's stealing all the headlines. Game winning 4th and 2.
No, I meant your highest paid receiver.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's how we do it, right?
Went over my head. Over my head. Ja'Cour Pearson, every week I roster him because I want the slot.
Yeah.
I want the slot in June Jones's offense. Did you roster Ja'Cour Pearson?
And he has 36,000 targets between 3 games, it seems like. I did not. I went with my stack, a Vegas stack of Jeff Bidet. He's at 9,700, but he's for some reason they just don't want to throw the ball to Martavius Bryant or Geronimo Allison.
So you're really talented.
These
you're
NFL
a decoy.
players.
We got you on this roster as a decoy.
NFL, just NFL wide receivers. You stay out there and let them know that you play in the NFL, and we're gonna just give Bidet every goddamn target there is because no one's ever heard of him. And whatever. So I think I like that. I like that stack on Sunday night there. Hundley and Bidet.
JMark, who's your top priced wideout?
Yeah, I had to sprinkle in a little bit of Houston here. So Jontre Kirkland, that guy's a beast.
Love his vodka at Costco.
That Kirkland whiskey is all right too. Kirkland is he seems to be the go-to guy. He's becoming the go-to guy over Burnett. And I think he's just going to keep getting looks. He was a beast last week. I think he has an opportunity to kind of really take a step even more forward against these the Guardians.
For sure. 2 touchdowns last week. He was he was my key guy for my huge $75 winner, I think.
All right. Well, look, I told you guys, I tipped my hand. I stacked wideouts with the Sea Dragons, but I didn't go with Gordon.
Okay.
I went with Blake Jackson. 5 catches, had a touchdown. And look, I think Gordon's going to get some double teams. He's the NFL guy. He's the decoy.
Yeah.
And Pearson and Jackson are just going to, catch the ball all the way to victory lane here for old Pick Dundee. So I'm all over Blake Jackson. 7,500 I think is a reasonable. Look, the high octane offense, the number 1 offense in the XFL. I want action. And especially with their running backs dinged up and bringing in new guys, they're going to throw the ball even more.
Yes.
Give me the wideouts of the Sea Dragons. CJ, what are you doing here in the second spot?
The second spot, this is our flex, right? We can flex out anyone there, I believe so. My second highest receiver, I'm going back to the steady hand of Sal Cannella. And especially with Slaughter, with whatchamacallit. Yeah,
Slaughter's return.
Slaughter's return, I think, helps Sal. I'm willing to
He
welcome
gets targets, man.
Yeah, and I'm willing to welcome Sal Cannella.
The
back
O-line
into our
might
lineups.
suck, but he goes, "Oh shit, let me just throw it to Sal."
So I like Sal. I like Sal coming in 7,800, and just with Slaughter coming back in there, I think that connection. He just stands out. I mean, obviously he was the number 1 tight end in USFL, and he just looks like a professional tight end out there.
Yeah,
and he just eats up tons of targets. I know JMark's a big Sal Cannella fan, but with Slaughter, I think the only thing holding him back was whatchamacallit, a quarterback.
Oh yeah, Drew Plitt.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, JMark.
So brutal.
What do you think of Sal Cannella, and what are you doing here in your second wide receiver spot?
Yeah, 35% of the target share. Hard to go wrong with that for Sal Cannella. That's what he got last week when Slaughter came in. And you could see when that pocket broke down, he did force it to Cannella, just like we said he would preseason, because we thought Slaughter was going to be the starter. Right. I did my stack here with my quarterback and put in Hakeem Butler. He's looked unstoppable. He's 6'5". He's a guy.
How much was he?
He was 8,300, which I thought was a little cheap for how much he's been dominating. I think he's a red zone target. We've seen him outspeed guys. They move him on the outside. They actually have lined him up in the slot. They move him all over the place, and he's hard to cover, especially with that size. So yeah, I went with Hakeem Butler here to stack with AJ McCarron.
Interesting. You know, you guys might be able to help me on my final draft, my final player, but we'll get to him in a second. But you know, I know you talked about the run game in DC. So my flex, I had to go. Abram Smith was on my team last week, but I'm going to pivot to the DC Defenders running back from Temple, Raquel Armstead. He's undervalued to me at 4,300. If the game's going to be in the rain, I think obviously he fumbled a couple times the week before, and I think that's what hurt him as far as carries. If you go back the other 2 games, he actually got more carries than Smith in some of those situations. I am going to take a chance on Armstead at 4,300, even though yes, rain equals more fumbles, which means maybe he does that too. But CJ, what do you make of my play of the Defenders rushing attack with you?
I love Raquel, love Temple. I think he had a bad ankle too. That also didn't help him go through a couple games. But you're right. He's going to come back.
Well, and Smith is questionable, right?
Smith is questionable, but I'm not going to fade Raquel for sure. And I think they do a steady, even balance. It's not like they're going to do like a 90-10 share or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the only hiccup we have, both of us with the running backs, is if they do put the Air King in there, they do like to run the quarterbacks in there when it gets to the goal line and vulture all those touchdowns.
Yeah.
But I like it, especially for that price. Why not?
JMark, wait. So wait, you
I didn't throw a pick out there. I was just commenting on your Raquel.
Wait.
I was just commenting on your Raquel. I'll tell you what though, I will piggyback off that DC value there. And at 4,700, I like this guy because Tamu did look a little better last week. As much as JMark hates him, throwing the ball around a little bit, he likes giving out his rushing stats as of why to fade him. Quarterback. Yeah. But
only rushed for 9 yards,
right,
guys.
So there's value, I think, on that DC passing attack as well. Just to get so I got Lucky Jackson at 4,700.
Great name,
great name, great number 1 guy. Name. And if you want for a value budget, and as God forbid, we look at a quarterback in his throwing statistics, JMark, 190 and a touchdown. And he's the guy he throws to all the time. So I look like Lucky Jackson at 4,700. I think that's a great value down there.
That's an interesting angle of potentially playing Tamu too.
Mm-hmm.
He looked good last week.
He looked good.
I know. JMark wants to smear his name.
He sure does.
And take away his.
We all know why.
Wants him out of the league.
As Kendrick Perkins would say. We all know why JMark doesn't like. I like there's a running joke just making JMark a racist.
I'll give you the real reason why for Tamu. Last year in the USFL, he was so talked up about how he was going to be the best quarterback in this league and blah, blah, blah. And I bought into it. I spent so many first rounders on Tamu in my fantasy football leagues.
It's personal.
It's personal.
Okay.
But that was the Tampa Bay Bandits having the worst offensive line in the USFL. I think you're going to see Slaughter essentially like that this year in the XFL. The offensive line still matters in football, folks. All right. Who's your first flex there, JMark?
Yeah, doing a triple stack here at 6,000. Austin Prohl. He had a little bit of a disappointing week last week, but I still think he's a go-to guy. So yeah, I'm throwing him in there just on the narrative that I think St. Louis routes this game.
How much is
I think that 6,000.
Yeah, he's a nice play, especially at home. They want to feed those white fans too with a Prohl. They get those bloodthirsty racists in St. Louis. They got to.
Oh man!
And he's the coach's son, of course. Receivers coach.
Yeah, but I played him last week and he let me down. That's probably the reason why I didn't actually have a great day.
I mean, personal score.
I feel like I had great players around him. He didn't come through. He did go to North Carolina over East Carolina, so not a big fan of him. My last flex guy is John One Lovett. He scored for me. The fact it's going to rain in this game, Vegas is going to have to run the ball. They're going to be forced to run the ball. This is one where I was going to say I can be talked into changing it, even though he scored for me a week ago. I can be talked into changing it. I do have $1,000 sitting there, extra,
burning a hole in your pocket.
So I got $5,900. I could go with Latimer in Orlando, Arcanato with Arlington, but that Arlington offense is such ass. I could go with Jacques Patrick.
Now we're talking
of San Antonio, or Jaquez Ezzard, who has been letting me down this year. I thought he was going to be good. Or Lucky Jackson. I mean, who do you guys think I should I stay with Lovett, JMark, or should I bounce around?
Well, I'll tip my hand here for my last pick in the flex spot, Jacques Patrick, as they say it. I still like Jacques Patrick, like he's a French guy or something. No, I got him at 5,200. I think they're going to be able to run the ball on Seattle. You know, we talked about that. Seattle run defense is a little, it's kind of one of their weak spots. Yeah. So I think he's probably going to get into the end zone. I think that's going to be one of the scores that San Antonio has.
You just sold me. Love it. You're out of here. All right. I'm going with Jacques Patrick.
Watch Lovett have twice as many points now.
Yeah. Right. Well, I just like coming with a pick that you hate. All right. Here's a guy I want to replace. I've been waiting all week just to tell you this.
I think this could be a new shtick. I'm going to do this every week.
Here's a guy I'm firing immediately.
Who'd you go with your last flex?
Well, I also have one of those options you threw out there. I went with Cody Latimer, the Orlando tight end, at 5,600. He's just a mismatch out there. He's an absolute beast on that field.
And
Orlando,
that's too cheap for him.
Yeah, it's way too cheap. 5,600. It's because it's Orlando, and they're going to be down a lot, obviously, versus Houston. And that's all they're going to be doing, throwing it. And that's their one mismatch they have that they're going to have to take advantage of all day. And I have enough faith in what's his face to do that. I can't even say his name without fucking
your guy Paxton Lynch.
Paxton Lynch. I mean, he knows an NFL tight end when he sees it, and he's just a beast out there. So I think I like it. I'm running double tight with Sal Cannella and Cody Latimer.
I like it. So wait, you're good. You gave away your lineup then, JMark, right?
Yeah,
all did.
So the defensive side of the ball, I'm still a bit perplexed why the Renegades are the most expensive defense. I get it. They're probably the strong suit of this team. However, they're about to go play the Dome in St. Louis, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't like that.
The two that jump out to me that I think are very worthy of playing are the Wade Phillips defense against Paxton Lynch and Greg Williams.
Sure.
Williams with the DC Defenders. But also, I think I could be talked into a Battlehawk play. And that's why I'm going with the Battlehawks defense against the worst offense in the league, the Arlington Renegades. Let's go. What are you doing here with your defense?
I'm going dirt cheap with my defense. And it's like I mentioned it earlier with the picks with DiNucci. Everybody eats offense and a defense. Throws the balls up for you. Throw a ball for me. He throws a ball for everybody. So San Antonio at 3,500 is dirt cheap.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna let points and yards go up again, but they're gonna get theirs. They're gonna get turnovers. They're gonna get the. They're going home with a plate. They're going home with a dish. Everyone gets in.
I like it.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna get plenty of turnovers from the DiNucci.
JMark, what are you doing on that defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I went with the Battlehawks. This is kind of a Battlehawks heavy lineup.
Kind
Yeah.
Live and die by it. But I think it's going to work out all right. I think, just like Mark said, Sloter threw the most interceptions in the U.S. or more interceptions last year than he did touchdowns. They're going to be able to put pressure on him. And I think you're going to see some turnovers. And I don't think they're going to be able to score a lot. That dome is going to create issues for Arlington. So, yeah, I like the Battlehawks here.
Love it.
Jello shots after the game for the Battlehawk defenders. Kaka, I'm with you, man. Folks, subscribe to the XFL Gambling Podcast. We have a reaction show that will come out either Sunday or Mondays. And then every single Wednesday, we will be doing our preview and picks as the season continues to roll along. Also want to shout out Mark Drumheller for coming on the show. Make sure you give Mark a follow at X_Drumheller. That's DRUMHELLER. Give him a follow on Twitter. And look, give all of us a follow on Twitter here. Look, and a follow with our podcast. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D, and the college football experience, the college basketball experience, the USFL Gambling Podcast, and the college baseball experience. Damn, I'm doing a lot of content. All right. I am also co-signing the fact that you should follow and subscribe to, well, first off, give CJ Sullivan a follow at CJ Sullivan _ on Twitter, but also check out his stand-up comedy because he's fucking hilarious. And he's going to be at the Improv in Los Angeles or Hollywood, California this weekend.
Yeah.
But also check out the Bottom Line Bombs podcast.
Yes.
They call him the man in the box.
Coming up after this at 3:00 live, first off-season debut.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mix that in. Go dual screen. Get a little March Madness action with the man in the box.
I know. I might have to turn off this TV down during Mark's segment. I was watching Georgia Tech fucking blow that BOS. Almost slammed this microphone. It's a brutal beat.
Yeah.
Fouling with 4 seconds ago. Now 6.
You
What the
filthy
fuck?
bastard.
God.
Also, we got the third man here. The guy knows XFL in and out. All right. So we give him a hard time about minority quarterbacks. All right. He's a good guy. All right. He's a good guy, and he really doesn't have any disliking for them. Well, with the exception of
them.
Yeah. For Jordan Tamu. I'm talking about Jordan Tamu.
Right. All of his names.
He drafted him in the fantasy league. I get it. You've been pissed off. Look, one year I took Terrell Davis and he got injured like the first game.
Dead to you.
I was pissed off because it was like my second pick of the draft.
Right.
So I held a little bit of a grudge when talking about Terrell Davis for the coming years because he was getting injured every year. What's up?
It's all quarterbacks not named Brian Scott. That's all it is, really.
That's all.
Brian Scott fan club. Brian Scott fan club #1 there. But give JMark a follow. He hosts the old fashioned football podcast and the NFL Gambling Podcast. Man, we just got, how many podcasts do we have as a group? We just got a lot of them. So, folks, check out all of us and subscribe. Get the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And also come talk XFL football with us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord until the end of week 4, either Sunday or Monday. We're going to try to work. Actually, it's probably going to be Monday because I don't know. We'll see because we have selection Sunday with college basketball. The studio might be in use there, but we'll work it out. We'll let you know. We'll tweet it out. Make sure you give us a follow at XFL Gambling Pod. So do all that good stuff. And until next week, this is the XFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
X marks the spot. X marks the crossroads. 2 straight lines crossing over in the middle. That's the letter you must see to find the treasure or the clue or the X-ray machine that's looking right inside of you. X is the letter without which one could